We welcome you to the second hour of the broadcast here on the Jim Roselle Show. And it's been a practice in the past that following Election Day, we've always invited candidates who win or even lose to come on the air and give their thoughts the day after, whether they're elected or whether they've lost in the race. That opportunity this morning with Terry Frank, our news director, and his special guest.
Thanks very much, Jim. Good morning. Good morning, everybody. It was a long night. Shorter for some, but long for us in radio news. But I want to welcome Jeff Piazza, the winner of the second family court judgeship here in Chautauqua County, and Mr. Judge-elect. Jeff, thanks so much for stopping by. It's good to see you.
Well, thank you, Terry and Jim. It's an honor to be here. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
My first,
go ahead.
Pardon me, I was just quick here. Is this your first election, Jeff?
Well, not my first election. I'm in my fifth term as town supervisor in Kyneton. Mm-hmm. But I can tell you that a countywide race is much different than a townwide race. But it's been a wonderful, wonderful experience.
Well, we're happy that you're giving us your time this morning to share with the audience the feeling of the people of this county electing you for that position.
I am just humbled and overwhelmed. I have had so much help, so much support, and I could not have done this alone. There are so many wonderful people out there, from the people who passed petitions. And in fact, this judgeship was created in the end of June, and the petition season had already passed. So there were people who were on their third round of passing petitions, and they went door to door, and it was just so wonderful. People putting together, phone calls, sending out cards. My family, my kids, my wife, they put together over 2,000 signs in the garage. My 14-year-old would tell me, "Dad, I put 200 signs together today." And he'd say his sister only put 85 together. He was proud. He was the big sign builder. So it's been a family project.
Well, you bring up an interesting point, Jeff, because with the turnover on this and the petition time that you had to get signatures for this was really condensed. So everybody really had to scramble to be able to get their name on a ballot.
Oh, yes. It was quite an experience, and it was very condensed, and it's been fast and furious since they announced it.
How different? You talked about the dynamic of running a countywide race versus a local race in the town of Kyneton. How different was it?
Very different. You really don't get a sense for how big this county is until you're in Dunkirk, and in the same day you have to go to Sherman, or you're in Cherry Creek, and you have to go to Westfield. And we put a lot of miles on my truck. And the other thing that I was really struck by is the diversity of this county. You can go to Dunkirk, and then there's beautiful Lake Erie. We have Chautauqua Lake down here. There's the farmland. There's just so much here in this county, and I was really privileged to have the chance to really see it firsthand. It was great.
Was it a lot of what they call retail politics, Jeff, where you go and knock on doors, or you go to special breakfast meetings?
We knocked on doors, marched in parades, and really that was my favorite part, was meeting people. Even just starting with the petitions, I knocked on doors, and I had people tell me, I knew your grandparents. I knew your parents. I remember you when you were a kid running around the neighborhood. Even to sitting here right now, I don't know if you remember this, but I grew up on Orchard Road. I used to mow the lawn here. Mm-hmm. I used to empty the waste baskets, and it's so really amazing. Now I'm sitting here speaking to you both. I've still got the urge to empty your wastebasket. I won't do that.
I was just going to give you an invitation if you wanted to experience it one more time.
For old time's sake.
All politics are local, to be sure. Jeff, I wanted to ask you real quick, looking at the numbers from last night, the raw numbers, you won by a better than 2-1 margin, or at least a 2-1 margin. Did you ever in your mind think it was going to be that much of a margin for you victory-wise?
No, there was no way to anticipate that. All I knew was that we just worked as hard as we could. We had so many wonderful people out there helping us. And, when yesterday rolled around, my family and I, we discussed it. We had done everything that we could possibly do. And we had to have peace in our heart, knowing we did the best we could. So I'm just thrilled I'm thrilled with those results, and I just want to say that my opponents ran a good race, and they are wonderful attorneys, and I have nothing but respect for them, and I just want to make sure we mention that as well.
And I'm sure that you all know each other because of the court system and working in that on a day-to-day basis.
Yes, that's true.
What do you feel at this time about the responsibility you've assumed in this position?
It's a very overwhelming responsibility. I've practiced law for over 20 years, and I practiced in town courts, village courts, city courts, county court, and I truly believe that a family court is the court that affects the most people on a day-to-day basis. And you think about it, it affects your children, your family. So it's a very serious responsibility, and I understand that there are children waiting for decisions to be made, and I will always keep that in the front of my mind, that there's a child waiting for a decision to be made, and I take that as a very serious responsibility.
What give us a sample of the cases that come before you.
Well, I've spent 20 years in family court, and what's brought me the most satisfaction has been my representation of children. I've been on what was called the Law Guardian Panel, now called Attorneys for Children, and I've had the privilege of representing children in cases of custody, visitation, abuse, neglect, and other matters. So there's a wide range of cases and issues that come up in family court, but I can tell you that I've had some wonderful experiences. I can remember just within the last couple of months, I was at Wegmans, and a nice young man was checking out my groceries, and I'm looking at him. He's looking at me, and he said, "You were my attorney." And then he introduced himself, and I remember the case, and it was a very contentious matter, and he took so much pride to tell me he was in college, and he was doing well, and his brother and sister were doing well. And I've had those experiences, and you can't put a price tag on that. Just to catch up after the fact and to see the success, it warms your heart.
Terry?
I wanted to interject maybe at least one more item. Looking at family courts, the reason why this second judgeship was put together was because of the caseload in Chautauqua County. I know that you said that you're humbled and gratified that you're going to be able to serve as the second family court judge, but it speaks to a greater problem that we have because of all these matters in family court: neglect, abuse. You mentioned all of them, divorces, that sort of thing. It's kind of a sad statement in a way that we need a second family court judge here in Chautauqua County, in a way.
Yes, I think you could look at it that way, but the way I look at it is that I want to roll up my sleeves. I want to work hard. I want to address that caseload, and I just want to do the best that I can to make things better. And it's one case at a time. If you look at the whole situation, it can be overwhelming, and you have to just go one day at a time. Understand it's a very serious responsibility, and just try to make things better as you're able, and just treat everyone fairly, and go one day at a time.
Do you change your location for your office?
Well, yes. My law office, my law practice, I will be having to phase that out, and then come January 1st, I will be up in Mayville.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting because in the interest of full disclosure, Jeff is mine and my dad's attorney.
And they're wonderful clients.
We're losing an attorney, but we're gaining a family court judge. That's the way I look at it.
Well, I appreciate all your kindness and support through the years.
Jeff, thank you for stopping in, and congratulations.
Well, thank you for having me, And I just want to thank everyone who trusted me with their vote. It's a very serious responsibility, and I promise I won't let you down.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Terry Frank.
You're welcome, Jim.
Our news director who gave you full coverage of the election last night. And we'll be back.